Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for rejoining me for my SoloQuest Traveller campaign. We return to the ongoing adventures of Adric Wardson, our solo protagonist that we are following his path, his journey through this Traveller universe. He is currently on Drax. He is holed up in a hotel on the outside of the Starport, in the urban zone, next to, I suppose, the busy central area of the main city concourse and a bureaucratic hub. He couldn't find a hotel in the Starport, and he's had to go maybe probably half a kilometer or so out with the Starport. He arrived on Drax. We ascertained that he was quite disgruntled with the Imperium. He had been basically jettisoned from the service, the Navy. After 3 terms, he was basically bearing a grudge against the Navy and the Imperium. He feels he is rather hard done by. So this is kind of simmering away. He has asked, he must get in control of his temper about this. He must pull himself together and live on his own means now. He has no support mechanism of the Navy round about him. He has to face up to the situation. And one of the things he has come across is the fact that this planet Drax is a bit of a bureaucratic nightmare. He has been facing troubles with dealing with authority at every turn and every avenue. And he has a feeling that he needs to get some help here. And during his exploits in the Starport itself, he dealt with a couple of drunks that he's managed to evade. He was quite successful of that. He reached his hotel. We've been creating this little summary of his journey. We reached the hotel on day 1, and he spent the first couple of days having some downtime, where he actually went to quite good use of his time. He managed to get up to speed with the caste system on Drax, and the fact that they had advanced water and air filtration. So he really is quite clued up on that now. He has got a bit of an engineering background, so that probably dovetailed with his interest there. We are using some of the rules in the Traveller rulebook, and if I turn to the double page spread on page 100 in this particular copy, we have this great big spread of charts, and the way I need to determine whether we have either a roomer or a patron. Now, for a roomer, it is a 7+ a weekly through on a 2D, and we determined on day 3 we'd have a chance of getting a roomer. And a patron is a weekly through of 5+ on 1D. So we have a 5 to 6 chance, and again we determined that we would have a chance of rolling for a patron on the 4th day. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is whenever we're out and about in the actual, either the Starport or the urban zone, or maybe some of the habitats on Drax, we will also roll for encounters. We might also have some illegal encounters. There are different types of encounters, but we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's start with, we're kicking off on day 3. And I think just from his own personal perspective, he's quite keen to deal with the bureaucracy on Drax, because he thinks, well, this is a bit of a problem. Every time I turn to something, I am faced with a situation. So he goes to the reception at the hotel and he says, can you suggest any ways for me to tackle and navigate some of the bureaucratic conundrums that are being thrown in my path? I am just a simple traveller. I am looking for a bit of guidance in this respect. And the hotel, you could say that they would say, well, you have to fill out this form to put this inquiry in. But actually, they are used to dealing with off-worlders in this establishment, and they are actually quite good at helping out some local visitors. And what they suggest is that travelers to Drax rent temporarily a droid. And these are effectively protocol droids, and they can do the majority of the form filling and also interact with some of the officials and officialdom on this planet. So, if we can imagine our protagonist dealing with the concierge or someone equivalent, and the concierge says, we have this, our protocol droid, nice silver, probably about 6 foot, quite spindly humanoid droid. And he says, this is E45. He is our protocol droid. It's a very good rate that we can include with our hotel services. You can pay for him every week that you're on the planet, and he can be your personal assistant. And all he has to do is go around with you, and whenever you come into a situation where you need to fill any forms out or have an interaction with bureaucracy, he is expert in dealing with that situation. And I think on the basis that it's a very reasonable price, and it's only going to be a few extra 100 credits or so on the bill, I think Adric will accept that situation. So he is introduced to E45, and E45 is a very polite, he's got a very clipped English accent, very polite. He says, good afternoon, Master. I am here to assist you. I am Protocol Droid E45 at your service. If you require any assistance, do not hesitate but to. And he has, I suppose, the rather annoying habit, which you probably can train out, of continuing to witter on beyond any short-term requirement. So Adric maybe just says, okay, for now, E45, that's all I require. However, you can assist me. I think I'm going to go into the Starport, or maybe even explore some of this urban zone, and just see whether I can pick up any intel on what's going on, and also whether I can get any form of employment. And E45 says, oh, a fantastic idea, sir. I will accompany you. I will be pleased to assist. So Adric has got his first little buddy. He's got E45, the protocol droid. So we can say day 3. We're on to day 3. Adric, we have E45, our protocol droid. Put it on the tab, says Adric. I already have, if we just check his credentials, I think he's got about 5,000 credits from memory in his. Yeah, he's got 5,000 credits, so he's got quite a bit of money, and he also has a high passage that he could cash in, and I think the high passage is worth 8,000 credits. So he's not short of a few bob to splash out initially, and he's really got to invest a bit if he wants to speculate in this traveling game. So let us continue. I think we've got a bit of a choice. We could either go back to the Starport. There was a bar in the Starport. I do have some quick rough notes that I was making. And there was a small utilitarian bar. There was a cramped equipment store. and a single terminal for job postings. So there is an actual job posting terminal. So it might be worthwhile going back to the Starport. And I suppose if I was in Adric's shoes, I'd probably do the same. So that is what we're going to do. We are going to hail a taxi, and E45 is very useful in this respect, because the taxi driver says, you need to have a travel permit form. Do you comply? And E45 says, this will be no problem, master. I can fill out the required details and also get you a travel permit ordered. It can be with the front desk, but in the meantime, here is a perfect temporary permit that we can use for this short journey. So we go back to the Starport. Let's see how busy it is on a scale of 1 to 6. See whether it's busy like it was, because when we arrived on Drax, it was quite a busy concourse. We'll do it on a scale of 1 to 6. So it's not too busy. Let's say we're arriving about mid-morning at the Starport. And it is reasonably quiet. Okay. Are we going to have any form of encounters or situations in this particular Starport? And I'd say the things that we need to look out for are, we're going to have a rumor roll this time. So I'll put rumor in. And we're going to have potentially an encounter roll. And encounters are rolled. They take place on a recurring basis. They will be randoms or daily 5+. So we're going to have an encounter roll 5+ because we're out and about. We've got this rumor roll, which is 7+ on a 2d6. And also we will have potentially a legal encounter. And that is based on the law level, which on this instance, I think the law level on Drax is very high. That is, just get from the actual details on Drax. And Drax has got a law level of A, which means no weapons of any sort you're allowed to carry. So it's quite draconian on law. So that is A, so that is effectively a 10. So a 10 or less, we will have some form of encounter with the law. So it's really just a case of finding out when we're going to actually instigate these. And I can use dice and an oracle to maybe determine when that is going to be. So let us do on the basis that he starts to do things in the Starport. And every time we do something, we will determine whether we're going to roll on one of these items. So what was in the Starport based on my little notes that I had? And I had a utilitarian bar. So we could call that something appropriate, say the Galaxy's End. That could be a good name. The Galaxy's End, the bar. We've got this bar here. We've got a cramped equipment store. These are just places of note that might be of interest for Adric to visit and maybe get potential employment. And also we've got a single terminal for job postings. So let's roll a dice and see which one he's going to go to first. And I'd say he's probably more likely to go to the bar. So let's make that 1, 2, 3. The terminal is probably quite a good chance. So let's make that 5 to 6. And on a 4, we'll go and visit the equipment store. So let's find out where he goes first. So he's going to go to the Galaxy's End. And in that case, I would say that it's unlikely that we're going to have a legal encounter. So we might just leave that one out and say that's a low priority. Potentially there's going to be a rumor there, and there's probably a good chance of an encounter. So, are we going to instigate our first trigger point when we go in? I would say we go into the galaxy's end, and what we can do is we can determine who is in the actual bar. And if you're thinking about it, I have a bit of consideration about what the clientele of the Starport would be. And I've thought that there are probably going to be a few different types of residents in this environment. There's going to be your locals, and any locals that are going to be here are probably going to be employees of the Starport, or maybe some bit more radical types. So we're going to have employees, and we're going to have potentially, say, 1 in 6 are going to be radicals. And they're just here for a bit of action, a bit of off-world excitement. As I explained before, a lot of people on Drax, they don't really go in for this kind of thing, but we might have a few that are a bit of kind of like wild cards, and they're really kind of out on the town. And they've just, almost risk takers in their society, which most of that's tried, effectively authorities tried to stamp that out. So they might be suspects, and they might be under surveillance. We could be getting into trouble if we mix with them. We've got another group, what I'm going to call the scavengers. And the scavengers are effectively salvagers of equipment. Now, I did explain that in our first episode, this was a class, a red dwarf star. And what this does is it creates quite a bit of distortion in the atmosphere. And when it comes to any equipment that there is on the planet, and things to do with, say, some of their offshore installations, and the fact that they do a lot of sea agriculture, that type of thing. There is a lot of wear and tear and strain on their actual equipment, and there's a high degradation in these items of capital, plant, and machinery. And what the government does is, instead of basically writing this equipment off because it will depreciate rapidly in these rather extreme climatic conditions, they give it out, contracts out to salvage companies to basically strip these assets when they come towards the end of their useful life. Basically the Drax government get a bit of return for their high capital investment, and don't just leave things to scrap. And it creates a little kind of mini industry on the planet. And they're quite a rough bunch, quite a rough types. So they form quite a cadre of basically off-worlders on the in the capital of Drax itself, and they tend to congregate around the Starport. So there's going to be quite a bit of them in this clientele. And also that we're going to have some corporates, and you can tell the corporates because they're all in these clean, very smart and pristine jumpsuits. They tend to be white, light blue, that type of thing. And you can see them off for a mile, whereas the scavengers are quite slovenly bunch. They're really quite rough looking. They don't really mix, these two groups. And these corporation peoples represent the off-world interests that are present on Drax. And the big company just now is called Xandar Industrial Conglomerate. And that is one of the major feudal houses on the planet Xandor. Xandor was one of the large ones in our local cluster. And I can come to a bit more detail about Xandor in a minute. But this is basically going to be our 3 groups in this bar. And are we going to have an encounter with any of these individuals? The one wild card I think I might have is a chance of having, say, we've got this hollow pool game going on. So like a hollow pool, which is basically kind of like a 3-dimensional simulation of people playing pool. And you can actually pick up a pool cue and play with effectively simulated balls on this table. And it's very realistic, and it really simulates an actual game. And we're going to probably have a hustler there that is in action doing his sort of stuff. So the question is, are we going to have our rumor here? So I'm going to ask the oracle and say, let's roll on our oracle dice and see whether we're going to have our rumor to be determined in this situation. And it would be interesting to see whether that is actually the case. And our oracle table is a 2d6 roll. So let's get our 2 traveler dice. And we'll say, is the rumor chance going to be affected in the galaxy's end bar? And we get a 5, and that is a no. So we're not going to have a rumor roll here. So we're going to have to go somewhere else to get our rumor. Are we going to have an encounter roll in the bar? And we will ask the oracle, and the oracle says no. So the oracle is saying definitely and not. Is there a chance of maybe getting some legal interest coming in? And I'm going to say that's going to be reasonably unlikely. So I'm going to have a -1 modifier to this roll. And we get a 7. -1 is 6. So that's uncertain, complicated, mixed answer, twist, or partial success. So we could do a twist prompt. No, that's on a 2 or a 12 when things go. So the twists that we can have, we could, now that we've got that as a 6, a twist, I do have these things here called twist prompt oracle that I can use if I need a bit of inspiration in a situation. So so we're not going to have a rumor, we're not going to have an encounter, we're not going to have any legal. So let me just ask the oracle again and say, should I go ahead and roll on the twist prompt oracle? It says 7. So that is basically uncertain again, which is not much of a help. Complicated. I'm going to say, let's just go ahead and do it and just see what happens. So I'm going to roll on this twist prompt oracle. I get a 3. Hazard. So, what could this be? So a bit of a hazard in here. Okay, let's just roll and let's run with it and see what happens. It might be just too ridiculous that we don't apply it. You never know. So we get a 3. An environmental danger, toxic air, storm, or gravity surge. I wonder if, I was talking about this red dwarf. Maybe there is some form of almost like a cosmic ray type burst. And let us say that does happen. And we'll do it on a scale of 1 to 6. Just as Adric comes into the bar, he scans the locals. You can see that there are locals. There's these scavengers. There's these corporate types. There's this energy surge, and basically like the lights start to flicker, and there's a bit of static on some of the media that's going on. Adric says to E45, he says, E45, what's happening here? And he says, well, I can't tell exactly, Master, but with my experience of these occurrences on Drax, I would say that we are experiencing an electromagnetic surge, which is caused by Drax's rather close proximity to its red dwarf star. This happens occasionally, maybe once or twice a week. It can be quite strong. I would say that this one is registering quite high on the scale. The best possible advice is to stay indoors and avoid any exposure to direct sunlight. we are protected in this area. However, there are repercussions across the planet because some of the gadgetry, some of the circuitry can be affected if it's not protected. But do not worry, Master, you are safe in this particular, and certainly in the starport, which is very well protected. And this bar does seem, as you can see, does seem to be suffering from some small deviations, but nothing to worry about. I would just relax and sit down. And Adric feels quite reassured by E45. He says, well, E45, you're doing a great job in calming me down. And E45 says, thank you, Master. That is very kind of you to say. So we just continue to sit down and ride out this event. Let us see whether we get, if we stay in this place, we might actually get a bit of interaction. I think the way I am going to do this is that if Adric stays close to, maybe he goes up and starts to speak to some individuals, or he does also have the option that he could maybe leave the Galaxy's End and go over to the terminal and see whether there are any job adverts on. Maybe that's an option. I think I'd rather do something actually in this bar and see whether we can actually start something, start getting some information that way. Let's Adric target one of the groups in this bar. So he's noticed that there are 3 distinct groupings of patrons in this particular establishment. You've got the locals, the scavengers, and the corporates. Who's he going to maybe target and see whether he can build up a rapport with? So let's maybe go, probably a 1 is going to be the locals, a 2 to 4 is the scavengers, and thereafter it's the corporates. So he's going to actually try to speak to a corporate. And what I'll do is I'll do a positive and a negative oracle. And the positive will be whether he makes a good impression, and the negative is what the reaction is, whether they take a negative reaction to it. So we'll have the white as positive. So the corporates are really quite hostile. That's on a maximum. So that's a -5. So they really are very, very hostile. So I think what I'll do is I'll roll reaction and I'll give probably a -1 to 3 to the roll based on that. So -1, and the reaction is 4. -1 is hostile attack. So we might even get into a pub brawl to attack. Yes, so we're coming into a bit of an altercation territory. So let's just set this type of thing up. What has Adric done? Maybe he can bring in, we've got one of these white-suited corporate type. Maybe they've had a bit too much to drink, and what he's done is he's come up and he's tried to be a bit over-friendly, not really talking the way that these corporate types expect them to be approached. He's been a bit cavalier, a bit bullish, and really kind of knocked this chap's nose out of joint. And what I'll do is I'll just move my my little scribble pad out the way, so we've got a bit of a clean slate to do this. E45 is probably looking rather not terrified, but he's probably not looking too happy, if you can make out what the facial expressions of a droid are. Adric is probably in a bit of trouble, so whether he is going to be able to de-escalate that or not. Shall we put this to the test and see whether he can use his charisma, his charm, or is he really just going to get stuck in and have to get involved in a bit of a fight? So Adric says, E45, can you come over here and see whether you can help out? And E45 says, is there any problems here? And he says, this, your master, or whatever you want to call him, he's coming over here and insulting me. He was being a bit snippy, not showing due respect to a ZIC corporation individual. I expect a bit more. And E45 says, well, I will relay this back to my master. He does so. And Adric says, I'm sorry, I did not get with the program and how to address you and how to approach you. I do apologize. What I will do is I will buy you a drink, and hopefully that will satisfy the situation. So I think on that second try, if we get a positive reaction, all's fine and dandy. So we get a 6. So that is unreceptive. So it just, I think E45 says to Adric, he says, Master, I would probably advise that we sit down over there and leave this gentleman to his drink. And he's kind of grimacing and looking a bit, and he's starting to huddle with some of his colleagues, and they're giving a few scowls to Adric. So I think what Adric's done is he's not made a very good impression with the corporates at this stage. So in the meantime, he's been in this bar for, say, let's do 1 to 3 hours with all this, what's going on. So he's been in for 2 hours. And I think in this time, maybe we could alert to the chance that we can get something else happening. So if we go through the rumor thing again and do it with our oracle, and see whether he picks up a chance to get the rumor. And I've got a 9, and a 9 sounds a bit more positive. And we get a chance to roll on the actual rumor table in the rules itself, which would be quite nice. So a 9 is a yes. So we can have a rumor chance. So what is on offer? If we just move these out of the way a bit, I'll bring this across. Now with rumors, what we do is we consult this matrix, and I roll a D first dice, which is the horizontal. So we're going to get a 6, and then I roll a second dice for the vertical. I get a 1. So we've got F as being our outcome, and F is on this is information leading to trap. Oh, what on earth does that mean? Information leading to trap. Okay, so right. I think the best way to do this is for me just to write this information down, and probably what's happened is that Adric, during the course of his debacle with this corporate employee, maybe one of the scavengers has said he's giving out, he's talking quite loudly, and and Adric can maybe overhear some of this. So it's information leading to a trap. And maybe they are talking about a situation on the planet that they have been involved in before, and they feel that that's probably quite a dangerous thing to be employed in. So maybe that's what he's talking about. He has been offered a role or a position, maybe to salvage a certain site, and this has actually been almost a setup, maybe for a piratical organization, and they've been quite predatory and actually killed or captured some of his colleagues, and he's one of the few that have escaped. So that sounds a bit more like it. So there's a scavenger. What's happened is that he is relating some tales. He's quite loud, maybe a bit drunk. He says he is a survivor of a salvage mission that actually was a trap. It was a bit of a setup, and there are these piratical forces operating offshore, maybe from habitats well beyond the Draxian authority. So they're offshore, out with the jurisdiction, illegally, and he managed to escape. So I think that I'm just going to plant that just now as something for me to consider as maybe information. So that is the rumor that Adric picks up. So we've actually had a rumor that has been achieved, and that will be our rumor ticked off from this situation. So we've had a rumor. That is whether we can act on that. Is Adric going to speak to this individual? Is he going to pursue it? He's already got a bit of hostility in this bar. He might be best placed just to keep a bit of a low profile. So let's see whether we're going to have an encounter. So based on the oracle, no, we're not going to have, and is there going to be any legal? So maybe the legal, yes, that looks as though an 8. Although I was going to put a -1, so nothing's happening in this bar. Okay, so we're really kind of twiddling our thumbs a bit. I think what we need to do is maybe just digest this as a rumor. We don't really have any further encounters in this bar. We do have some reasonably hostile corporates that potentially we don't really want to get too involved in. I think what Adric's going to do is he's going to quit this situation and then head over to the either the equipment store or the terminal, or maybe even actually head out into the urban zone and see whether there's anything that he can pick up information-wise there. Yeah, I think what Adric's probably going to do is, because this is really the first day that he's actually been out and about, and we're kind of playing out how we can actually use Adric to get information, and also see whether he can actually have any encounters that are of meaningful nature. And we have plenty of time. We're going to maybe have a patron check tomorrow. So why don't we actually head back to the hotel? Maybe he needs to follow up this information about what the scavenger related. And he can always come back to the bar if he can actually maybe validate something. We're talking maybe some of the residents in the hotel. They might have experience of dealing with scavengers. I think it's just a bit too hot what's going on in this world, this galaxy's end bar just now, and he could actually end up in an altercation with these corporate personnel, and I don't think he really wants to push that any further, and he wants to maybe just follow up on this rumor and see whether there's any validity to it, without really actually maybe directly getting involved with the individual, and he's really just maybe observing from a distance. So Adric really kind of just watches this chap who's going on about how he made a bit of an escape, and he does seem to be descending into a bit more drunkenness. We could maybe just do on a 1 to 6, put a +1, how drunk he is. So yes, he is absolutely. He's maybe he is just basically embellishing a rather tamer story, and he's really just hamming it up a bit. But he is very drunk. So I think what Adric wants to do is maybe return to the hotel and see whether he can make further inquiries in the actual hotel bar itself. So you can maybe talk to the concierge and say, I was down at the Starport with my protocol droid E45. We came across some individuals in this bar called the Galaxy's End, and he says, oh yes, I am familiar with that. There are a lot of off-worlders, and that is one of their favorite haunts. And Adric says, well, from what I could see, there was probably three cohorts of patrons. There were the locals, the scavengers, and the corporates. And I don't really know whether you would know this, but one of the individuals who was going on about problems that he had been scavenging, and some, the fact that they were not hijacked, but it was basically they were hoodwinked by a false deal, and they were lured into a trap. So we could maybe say on our oracle, when he's talking to the concierge, does he know anything about this with the oracle? And he's, so that's a double 6. And what a double 6 means is, wow, that means something special. So we might be able to finish this episode with something quite intriguing if we get a double 6. And a double 6 on my oracle means yes, and something extra or better than expected. So he said, the concierge says, yes, I know quite a bit of information about this. If you just wait for me to get off duty in an hour or two, I'd be quite happy to talk to you. We've got someone in the hotel that maybe you need to speak to if you are interested in this. So I think with the fact that we got such a positive roll there, a double 6, it's yes, something extra. The concierge knows something even more. Maybe there is some validity to this. This is something that we maybe can build on. If we get a patron encounter the next day, maybe this will be a part of that, and this would validate and consolidate some of the findings that we've made on day 3. Okay, as you can see, it's not easy just thinking on the fly, and sometimes you can come up with some quite inspirational things, and the dice help, and other times you tend to go a bit dry. But I'm just gonna go with it and just see where this takes us. So we do have a potential. The concierge seems to know something. There is this chap in the bar that seems to have been a victim of something. Is this going to be part of some adventure that we can actually set up? The patron, if we get a patron, there is a chance the next day they might be able to fill us in a bit more detail about this, or they could be giving us an assignment that is completely separate, and this is maybe just a side quest. That is the beauty of Traveller, and I suppose in this instance, playing it solo, you can have all sorts of things going on at once. It's quite fun having E45 as our, because we can use E45 as a bit of a soundboard, and he was useful in this situation, and maybe of helping Adric diffuse what would have been a rather volatile situation. And maybe E45 could be our little a bit of interest, a bit of almost like, as I said, a bit of a soundboard for our character in future adventures. Let us see how that develops. Okay, right. Let's see what happens in our next episode, whether Adric gets some form of gainful employment, or is he really just following a vague rumor. Does seem to be the fact that the concierge knows something more about this, and he's almost like his ears pricked up with a double 6. He knows something much more concrete about this information. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.